We are at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum with now author and member of the Hall of Fame, Mr. Paul Page. Paul, you have spent an entire career broadcasting motorsports, but I'm sure you didn't start in motorsports. How did you get into this sport business?
I was in high school and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, you know, like most high school seniors. And I took a course, because it was an easy credit, at a local radio stations on broadcast journalism. And I fell in love with it. I thought it was so cool. But then I got out of high school, college, the Army, and when I realized I really didn't have any really great skills to market at that time, but I did know a little bit about broadcasting, so I got a job with a local station in Indy called WAIV, and it was on top of the Dearborn Hotel on the east side, and it was all classical music. So me and classical music.
Perfect fit.
Yeah, so. But actually, it worked out because in college I took a course on the pronunciation of classic composers. So I was a shoo-in on the audition. Anyhow, from that I went to a station, they were bought and they changed the format, and I went to a station that was turned into an automated station 3 weeks after I went there. So, and that put me on the search for a job that eventually ended up at WIBC, the big powerhouse in Indiana, and where Sid Collins, my mentor, was the sports director.
And of course he heard your voice, said, I got to have you instantly, right?
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, one weekend, he was sports director, so he was there 5 days a week, and certainly on the weekends. One weekend, my assignment was to go out and interview the winner of the Soapbox Derby. So I did, over Wilbershaw Hill, and I did this interview, and I brought it back to the station, and they put it on the air. And you know, I'm happy. I've actually called something in racing. And I walked out in the hallway, and Sid was standing there with his arms crossed, and giving me the look, you know. And I looked at him, and he said, "That is the worst interview I have ever heard." Well, there it is. I'm done. I might as well walk off into the distance. But then he took me, and he started teaching me how to interview. And because we both weekdays worked late shifts, he did his sports show at 7. So after 7, we'd just sit in the studio and we'd talk. And we became really close friends. We'd talk about everything. But all of those conversations would end with, but you're not going to be on the radio network. So, and then 1973 was a terrible year. The Speedway decided to expand the pits and do some other safety things, and Sid decided it needed another pit reporter. And Jerry Baker and I were brought to the studio, and he, one by one, told us. And we tried to be so cool about it. But we got out into the parking lot, and we're both like, whoa! It was super.
You know, it's interesting with your career, and with a lot of guys, not yourself, fortunately, you will do something successful, but they don't want to pass on how they did it. But you, on the other hand, have been just the opposite. Now the late Bob Jenkins and Scott Goodyear both tell me, were it not for you, their careers in broadcasting would have gone nowhere.
That's nice of them. That's nice. I love to teach. To the point I'm actually thinking of applying to be able to help teach journalism to Boy Scouts who are trying to get their merit badge in broadcasting. But I love to, and I always believe you're supposed to make everybody around you better. And that's generally what I always attempted to do. It still is very important that we take the whole craft further with each thing we do.
Well, I will have to say, even though I've known you for 30 years, well, when I first met you, if I would stop to say hello, you would stop. And I noticed that with Bob. If anybody came up to Bob to approach him or want to talk to him, shake his hand, he was always ready.
Yep.
Unless he was putting the microphone and headphones on, it was a little, you stand back. But, you know, to me, it says volumes about who you are and what you are from what they have told me. I mean, Scott has said, I said, how in the world, get out of a race car, you sell cars, or you do something with cars in Canada. How in the world did you become a broadcaster? When they hired me, Paul and I would ride to and from the hotel. And on the way, he'd suddenly start calling a race as we're driving along, and then he'd pass it to me. That's how I learned how to pick up and continue the story. And he has said to me numerous times, if it wasn't for Paul, this is how I learned.
That's great of him. He's become one of my greatest friends. So he's Canadian, you know, so we don't have coffee. We have a coffee every so often.
Your book is just out. Hello, I'm Paul Page. It's Race Day in Indianapolis. How long did it take you to put this together? Because you've been around for a few years, and I know I have trouble. When I talked to Bob about this, why don't you write a book? He said, I can't remember. Unless somebody tells me something, I don't remember it.
It took about 5 years from when I decided that it was something to do. And originally it was going to be for the family. I just kind of wanted the family to know what I'd done. So I started writing down all the little stories, and then I realized maybe there's a book here, and so I couched it that way, but I was going nowhere because I write like a journalist. I don't have a lot of warmth in my real life or real-time writing. So along came J.R. Elrod, who said, I'd like to write that book with you. And he put life and color into it, and we talked about how to do it, because for me it was just a collection of unconnected anecdotes, and it wasn't particularly compelling. So John and I talked about the frame, how you're going to put it together. My first race was 1960 as a fan. The last great history, in my view, that has been written about the Indianapolis 500 was Al Blemker's 500 Miles to Go, which ended in 1959. So we decided to pick up 1960 historically and mix it in with the anecdotes and the other things I've done and the behind the scenes. And so that's how we did it, and I'm pretty pleased with the outcome.
I've heard nothing but good reports, and I'm just finishing my reading class.
Mm-hmm.
And once I get to write, 10 or 12 words a minute, I'm going to get a book and read it. I think you would agree with this, that probably in the beginning of your career, one of the greatest races ever was Roger Ward and his huge battle.
Yeah, 1960, my first race. And a lot of people then will say, well, so that's what got you to love this place. It's true, but it's by the time that checkered flag fell, I was totally in love with the 500. More importantly, before the green flag fell, I was in love with it. I had no idea what to expect. My family sent me down from Chicago. My uncle took me to the track. That's why I was there. He wanted to take me. And the ceremonies alone, just I was sitting there and said, I got to be part of this. I don't care. I'll be a stooge. I'll be a yellow shirt. I'll do anything just to be near this race. And the rest, I guess, as they say, is the history.
Well, I mentioned your good friend and a friend of mine, Bob Jenkins, who we lost just a few days ago.
Yeah, God bless him.
He, in my mind, and I've never said this, but I thought he took a page out of your book, and that you're approachable. And he was approachable.
Yeah,
anybody could approach him, unless, of course, he had a microphone and a headset on, and you better stay away. But he would talk to you, he'd smile with you, he'd sign something if you had it. It embarrassed him, some of the autograph stuff, but he would do it, and he was always willing to talk to. I classified him as a blue-collar broadcaster because he loved people. And as you know, I'm sure, and I figured out over the years, if you get a broadcaster that doesn't know the sport, the fan watching and listening knows it immediately. Yeah. And you two guys knew the sport.
Well, and I'm writing his eulogy right now, and you mentioned his friendliness, and one of the sentences that I've written is that he was your friend before he even knew you, which that was Bob. He couldn't believe he had fans. He loved every one of them, but he's like, what have I done? You know, he was a beautiful human being.
Well, we're certainly going to miss him, and I think he'll be announced shortly. I assume that there'll be a memorial for him somewhere.
Yeah, at this moment there is a memorial planned for 10 o'clock on Monday, the coming Monday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, put that out as well.
Good.
Thanks for your time. I've heard nothing but good words about your book.
Thank you.
I'm glad you can remember some of this stuff and had somebody who can write for you, put it all together.
Well, when you get done with your remedial reading, I'll get you a big font copy of it for you.
I appreciate it. Thank you much for your time. Again, we're talking with Paul Page, Hall of Fame broadcaster and a member of the Hall of Fame of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, one of the best.
And can you tell this guy's my friend?
Don't forget under the table.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. Thank you. We're in now what is the garage area for the Big Machine Spike Cooler Grand Prix, and I'm with the owners of the Top Gun team, Bill Throckmorton and his wife Stephanie. You know, Bill, you have thought about and dreamed about doing this for a long time. What's it like to now have a car and you're entered? And I know you entered the 500 and didn't make it, but you're here to run.
You know, it's nice that we get a second chance this year to come out and run the car again. And honestly, you just don't have much time to think about what it takes to get out here. It's a lot of work. You got to devote a lot of time and effort. Stephanie works all the time at it. I work a lot at it. And plus, we have to run 2 other businesses to be able to do this along with it. But I don't know, there's a lot involved. I'm just tickled to be back out here.
Now, you're a former driver, so racing's in your blood as well. And I see you in your office, you're busy. This takes a lot of work. People don't realize a lot of work that goes into getting a race team and getting it to the Speedway.
Oh, I agree. It's been a tremendous effort all the way around. We've got a great team, a great driver, a great team owner, the manager of the team that keeps us all sane. But I wear many hats, and today it makes it all worth it. But I did learn that in open wheel racing, where most of our friends and grassroots come from, this is not the pit area at IndyCar, it's the paddock. So we're in the paddock, but we like to be in the pits where most of our IndyCar fans that came on board has helped us at. So
it's amazing just getting started, but you guys got a lot of followers already, a lot of people behind you wanting you to do well.
Oh yeah, it's kind of amazing. We've had several people come by here this morning that I guess even the yellow shirts and other people are saying if you want to go see somebody and be able to associate, talk with them and visit, you need to go down and see the Top Gun members. And we met some of our vendors from across the pond, and I don't know, it's good. We're getting a lot of fan support, and we need to have a decent run and just keep building from that.
Well, I'm sure you guys have found that to get a sponsor is not a walk in the park. There's a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of information's got to be put together. So if somebody's looking to sponsor a team and get involved and build their business as well as build yours, are you open?
we are definitely open. Our 2022 program is underway. We've got a lot of marketing tools that's going to help us, and partnership up and network. This has been phenomenal. IndyCar is growing by the moment. Nashville last week was a perfect example. I mean, the race may have not been the ideal for us true racers because of especially owners having the cost of the damage, but as far as IndyCar, people are involved in making marketing partners for 2022. It's a little bit easier when IndyCar is doing great to promote their sport.
And the teams are growing. You're going to be looking at full time. There's drivers from Formula One that's getting European viewers. This thing is growing rapidly.
Well, and plus we need to say thank you to a few sponsors that came on board for this race. South State Bank, also Horse Soldier Bourbon, Rayco Machine has helped us a ton. Killadin.
And then my brick program,
Indy
Mortgage, and my brick program. A lot of individuals and businesses who came aboard from our grassroots. We made it affordable, and it's been unbelievably heartwarming and humbling, and so proud that these people are happy and to support us and just to be there for us.
All you need is the one big one, and off you go. And everybody that's involved with you now will go right along with them.
Oh yeah, so that's what we're shooting for, and we're working hard for that. And it takes time, but I think we'll accomplish what we set our goals for. I mean, we're very proud of RC. He does a fantastic job. I really like the young man. Stephanie's working hard. The whole team works hard. Good group. We'll get it done. I mean, you know how I am, Don K. If I set a goal, I won't stop till I get there.
Well, I just interviewed your crew chief, Roy Wilkerson, and the response to that was enormous. The people that have known him over the years, and nobody said, you got a clunker. Everybody said you got one of the best.
Good. That's good to hear.
All right, listen, you guys are getting ready to head out to the track for practice. We're going to wish you well. Don't forget to watch the number 75 car, Top Gun Racing, with the shoe in it, RC Enerson. Thanks for stopping. We're in the paddock area, in the Top Gun paddock, and we're with the driver, RC Enerson. And RC, you have attracted attention in all phases of motorsports. You just came back from running a cup race at Watkins Glen. Now you're here at Indianapolis. What has been your goal when you first started driving cars? Is this where you wanted to be?
Yeah, I think the dream's always was IndyCar. I never really looked at Formula One too much. I watched them when I was younger, but it's the focus was always IndyCar and everything around the Indianapolis 500. So it's the ultimate goal to be here now to drive an IndyCar for the first time on the actual speed, or well, at least on the road course side of it. We got to do laps and try to qualify for it, but we didn't make the 500. So this, I guess, will be our first race technically. So we'll see how it goes.
You just recently tested in Sebring. How did that go?
It went actually really, really well. We started with a car that was not very happy. It was definitely tough to drive, but we made a ton of progress on setup and ended up with running really, really competitive times at the end of the day. So and thankfully we didn't get rained out of that one. That definitely would have stunk if we got rained out and didn't get to finish the day. But we made a lot of progress, so it gave me a lot of confidence coming into this weekend.
Where does your talent come from? Because you can drive, it's got 4 wheels, a gas pedal, and a motor. You can seem to drive it and have the talent to do it. In your first IndyCar race, you had a top 10 finish almost nailed, if not higher, and they ran you out of fuel. But where does your talent come from?
I guess it would just be years and years and years and years of actually driving. I mean, I started karting when I was 4.5, just on the street, and then started karting and doing the really competitive karting, national level karting around 7 years old. So I mean, it was kind of thrown into it pretty early, and then just years and years of it. Now it's anything with 4 wheels, I'll drive it for sure.
Now your dad's got a driving school, the Lucas Oil Driving School, and you are one of the instructors. Do you get in the cars and drive those as well frequently?
Yeah, so I'm like the instructor / test driver. If somebody was to wreck the car or anything along the lines, when it gets put back together, they'll put me in it, make sure that thing's good to go, nothing wonky going on with it, and then before every single race weekend, I'll test every single one of the 20 cars and put up a lap time in them just to make sure it's a competitive car, try to get them as equal as we possibly can, put them in that 2/10, 3/10 of a second window. And so we have a good race cars for the kids to come in and drive.
Does that help you any, being in a car, open wheel car, help? I know they're not as fast by any means, but does that help at all?
I think it does. I mean, it doesn't really matter what you're in. As long as you're driving something, it kind of helps your reflexes stay there, and you're actually active in a car. It definitely helps a lot.
What are you looking forward to most here on the road course? And I know you can't wait for next year you get to run the oval, but what do you look forward to running this road course? It's a pretty good course, and it's a lot better than Nashville as far as bumpy.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to compete here in USF 2000 and 2 different years in Indy Lights, so I mean, I know the track really well. It's pretty smooth. It's a lot of brake zones where you can gain and lose time, so it's going to be maximizing that from the get-go, and I know we only get an hour of practice, so it'll be making sure we have a very valuable hour.
And you've got a heck of a good crew chief in Roy Wilkinson and the crew you've got around you. They know the car, and when I talked to Roy about it, he said, we know when RC tells us what he needs, we can see that, and everybody's happy.
Yeah, and it's just feeling out the car. I mean, Roy was my chief mechanic when I was with Coyne 5 years ago, and then so now he's back. We're back with him again, so it's pretty exciting. I know he builds a good race car, and a safe race car. He doesn't have any mechanical issues usually, so I'm just really confident going into this weekend.
Well, you're going to go out there, and as they say in the fan base, stab it and steer it.
Yep, that's the plan.
Well, wish you nothing but the best, and for those of you, watch out for car number 75, RC Enerson. He's gonna be there. Good luck.
Thanks, Don.
We're here in the paddock at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in preparation for the Big Machine, what's it called? Big Machine Spike Cooler Grand Prix. And we're at the paddock area with the owner of Michael Shank Racing, Mr. Mike Shank. And Mike, what got you into this sport? How did you get into it? I know you drove an IRL at one time.
Yeah, just as a kid, as a kid I remember being able to hear motors going at my grandmother's house at night. I could tell what they are, V6 or V8 straight 6 4-cylinder. I just had a love of automobiles with my dad that I got from my dad, and he club raced in SCCA when I was growing up, and I always just beg to go. And eventually he gave in, and I started crewing and helping. And the minute I graduated from high school, I started driving race cars.
You did drive in the Indy Racing League. Did you do more than one? Now, you were at Vegas. Did you only do one?
I just did one race. I did a lot of racing up to that point, but we had enough money to do one race, and it kind of folded up and died after that. So it was a good experience, but as it turns out, I was cut out for something else different in car racing.
when you were growing up, did you ever, in your wildest dream, think you would have a race team like you have currently?
Well, I thought we were capable of it. A lot of things had to happen for us to be sitting here today. Number one, we had to have results in what we were doing before, which attracted Honda and Acura on the sports car side. Number two, Jim Meyer came into my life about 4 years ago, the first year we ran Harvey at the Speedway here. And lastly, you know, Liberty Media came on and bought 30% of the team last fall. And it's just all these things, these key moments in time that allowed us to put a package together to compete at this level.
Well, you have to have something going for you to talk a three-time winner, Helio Castroneves, to come and drive for you. And then his first 500 for you, he wins. How has that changed your life and your team?
It's changed a lot beyond what, you know, listen, I grew up reading the Indianapolis Star the whole month of May in Columbus, Ohio. We subscribed. We got every Indianapolis Star just to read about the intricate stuff that was going on here during the month when you guys were here for the whole month. We loved it. We always pictured ourselves being able to do it. For me, it was the ultimate dream. My dad passed away a long time ago before he got to see the success of kind of the team, and which is unfortunate. But you know, it came from him. It started with him. We came from the dirt, nothing at all, and it built it to where it is today, and I'm pretty proud of it.
How much has having that sports car team and the success you've had there helped you when you came to IndyCar?
Well, we needed you know, the sports car team for us was a solid financial footing to go forward with other projects when they were the right time. We could never do anything that jeopardized the sports car side of things, and we never did. And to this day, we don't. So the sports car crew is at home today. They just raced a couple of weeks ago at Road America, and they're getting ready to go to Laguna Seca next in about a month. And it's the foundation of everything MSR is, to be honest with you.
Now, when Jim Meyer joined you, what made him want to come with you? Has he been a long-time race fan like yourself?
I think, yeah, he has. He's been in Indianapolis since 1980, so this is his hometown, really, and he's always loved IndyCar racing. You know, we're just he's a little bit older than me, but a generation ahead of me, but we're very similar people. We're very Midwest. We like to sit and drink beer out in front of the motorhome at night here when we're here for the 500 and talk about the day and things we're planning. He's a very aggressive, very, very high-end CEO in the world, which helps with all of his networks and things to help with sponsorship and partnerships and that kind of thing. He's just the perfect all-around. Now, you know, you got to be tough. He's a tough guy, super fair, super loyal, expects the same out of me and our guys. And if you do that, he'll give you everything, his effort-wise. So, you know, I look for great things for us for the next few years. And you know, keep building the program, making it better.
Well, it's kind of strange because your logo was MSR. It used to be Michael Shank Racing. Now it's Meyer. You didn't have to change your logo at all, did you?
I said, Jim, you can have the first letter, and he didn't understand. I'm like, we're all set here. Let's go forward. So it was a great little thing, and we've had it just my wife and I, who's an equity owner in a team too. You know, we got super lucky with Jim, and we tell him that all the time.
Yeah, but it takes something to want to get somebody to come with you. You got to have performance and integrity and so forth, and that got to be how you got Helio to come to a relatively small team.
Newish, smallish, not so small anymore, but newer for sure. But you know, I knew him. He drove for me in 2007 or 8 at Daytona, and so we had a relationship at the Rolex 24 there. So we had a relationship. We knew each other pretty well, actually. And I just kept my eye, you know, slowly keep my eye on his situation. And I thought, you know, who's available when we had this opportunity? We looked at the young kids, we looked at guys like Helio, and we decided to go that way, and we look like rock stars at this point.
You're not kidding. In your life, with the win of the 500, did you ever expect the reaction that you've gotten as a winner?
Turns out it's a big deal, this race. And no, I didn't expect this. I guess in some ways we weren't prepared to win with some of the stuff that comes with it. But listen, it's the best problem in the world to have. I respect this place. First and foremost, I respect the history, the people that made this place long before my time. I truly respect it. And now I think we deserve to be here.
Well, I'll tell you what, you couldn't have picked a better guy to do it for you. The last time I spoke to Elio, he was a 3-time winner, and I said, did people ask you about that? He said, not really. I said, what do they talk to you about? He said, winning Dancing with the Stars, but I bet that's changed now.
Well, I mean, listen, he gets to, well, listen, Dancing with the Stars was huge for him and for all of us, as it turns out. But you're talking about really, really rare air if he would get a 5th. No one's ever done it. You know that. A lot of people have tried it. Some of these guys have tried it. I think it's around 20 times in total between the 3 of them. I've tried to get 5, but it just never worked. So we saved that car. We didn't retire it. We saved that car to run again. And let's see what happens.
You know, the thing that impressed me the most when he was running and he had a good battle going at the end is he's got experience. And I think experience, if people don't realize, experience counts a lot in this sport.
He knew exactly what he was doing with 20 laps to go. Exactly. And that's what I respect the most out of him. I'd about run 100, 110. I was wondering what the hell he was doing. But by 160, 170, I know exactly what he's doing. So that's part of why we brought him. And he would tell you the same.
And he's excited to be back for a full year with you, too. He hasn't hesitated. He was, bang, let's go.
Yeah, so, we're going to do all next season with him. We look forward to that. We went to Nashville. We finished 9th, which he hadn't been on which I was really pleased with. He hadn't been in a road course for over a year in that thing. And that was a brutal race, right? And I would say he was a little conservative on purpose, admittedly, but I loved it. I thought it was great.
Well, again, smarts takes over. It was a difficult track, narrow in a lot of places, but he got through it in one piece and he finished well. And that shows the talent. The man does have talent. There's no question.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's obviously a little bit older now, but the enthusiasm, he's still in really good physical shape. And I think he probably has a year or 2 left in him.
And I suspect that you're going to try and make him with you.
I'd like it. I'd like it to be. So we're building relationships and sponsors. And we got to pay for this, Elio doesn't work for free anymore. And so we got to sell it. And he's great at that too, by the way. He's really, really invested in the team and trying to bring folks to us. And that's what it takes. That's why you see all these decals on this car, just different deals to get it paid for.
Well, we're here for a race. Want to wish you well, and I'm sure you'll do well. Thanks for taking the time, and we'll look to talk to you again.
Can't wait. Thank you.
My guest, Mike Shank, the owner of Meyer Shank Racing, the winner of the Indianapolis 500 with driver Elio Castroneves.